Tell me if you've heard this one before. UT Martin earns more Player of the Week honors. Tennessee Tech continues to get top 10 votes. Lindenwood is looking for a big upset at home. And Charleston Southern is looking to snap their conference losing streak. Seems like a rerun. It's not. It's week 8 in the Big South OVC, and it starts right now.
1, 2, 3, come on!
Welcome in to OVC Big South Game Day for Week 8. Jacob Stonick, James Zugmeyer, Gabe Levi. Another big week here in the OVC. Got some big games coming up, top of the table. Some teams trying to get out from the bottom. Going to be a huge week here this week again.
Yeah, you got a lot of teams with some quarterback controversy due to injuries right now. And then Tennessee Tech finally looking mortal this year. The question all season was, who's going to be the one to beat them? And got a big matchup against Lindenwood this week.
Absolutely. A lot of great matchups coming up, not only this week, but we saw last week a couple of interesting games, I think is the best way to put it. So it'll be interesting to take a look at those, see what we can maybe learn for this upcoming week.
Well, speaking of last week's games, we will open up with our highlights from last Saturday, our big 2 games. UT Martin, they picked up a huge bounce-back win during their homecoming against Western Illinois in an absolute barn burner against the Leathernecks. It all started with Tommy Ainsley getting the first lead of the game. That would put UT Martin up 7-0. But it wouldn't be held on for too much longer as Western Illinois, will tie it up here in just a moment via Deari Davis. And this is just an amazing play here by Deari Davis. We're going to dive into this even more later on. This play would end up being number 2 on the Sportscenter top 10. What a play, 28-yard touchdown there. That would tie the game up for the time being. Just another look at this play. I mean, come on. What a catch. Makes it 7-7. Later on, it would be wide open. Alex Williams, 5th touchdown of the season. That's the team lead, giving him little shaky legs right there. Open look that gives them a big lead there in the first half. Now we go to half number 2. Jase Bauer, he ended up getting hurt early on in the game, but came back and in the clutch, able to plow through. He gets one here. That would make it a 1-score game. And then right after that, whose number do they call again? Of course, it's going to be Jase Bauer. Plowing through, jumping through on the bad ankle, and he puts UT Martin up 32-31, had 2 failed 2-point conversions in that sequence, but still able to get the job done. And the biggest one right here, Antonio Chatham stepping up a long 48-yarder. Doesn't get it up. No! It's blocked! LeBron Edmond! And a homecoming win for the Skyhawks as they are able to get back in the win column. And they weren't able to get a win until conference play started. Now they are 2-5 and 2-1 in the OVC Big South, which is big for them because they sit right below the top 2 teams at the moment.
Yeah, this is a heartbreaking one for Western Illinois. Look, they are 3-7 when their offense scores 30 or more points over the last 3 years against Division I opponents. I know that's a mouthful, but dude, when you score 30 points, you need to win the football game. And their defense has struggled all year long, but their offense is actually not doing them any favors because they're scoring way too fast and they have no run game. So it's either scoring touchdowns or getting points on the board or it's a 3-and-out. And in this game, they either scored on all their drives or it was 3 straight plays and they're off the field. I haven't liked them on 3rd and 4th down all year so far, and it's because they're only averaging 2.3 yards per carry against conference foes. That number is not going to get it done. You need to be able to set yourself up on 3rd down. You have a good quarterback. You have good weapons. They need to find a way to scheme up a way to get them the football so that when we get to 3rd down, it's not 3rd and 10. It's not 3rd and 15. It's a 3rd and 3, and it's easy first downs for the squad.
Absolutely. We were talking about offense a little bit before the game. Talk about the offense for UT Martin in this last quarter. What a comeback. Comeback of the century so far. At least in my opinion, Jase Bauer not only throwing for 245 yards for the whole game, but 2 short rushing scores almost back-to-back to put the Skyhawks over the board. Like Jacob mentioned earlier, there was that there were 2 there were 2 failed conversion attempts, apologies. But Jase Bauer more than made up for it with a couple of insane throws that he had later on in the game to Hyatt Timashak, number 88, and Faison Wilson, number 5. Faison Wilson also powering through for a couple of those plays, multiple leathernecks, just showing that insane power. Here's one of those plays right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Absolute dime to 88. I've got another play coming up right next. This is the play right after that one.
Yeah, gotta have it. This goes up and
Boom,
gets it.
right to
Double
Wilson.
coverage.
Back-to-back plays by Jase Bauer. Incredible performance. And then obviously, like we said, boom, hopping in for that last touchdown. And then the Skyhawks blocking a field goal attempt in the final seconds of the game to pick up that victory. What an incredible performance. What an incredible comeback by UT Martin. That's really all I can say for this one.
Yeah, Western Illinois just unable to get it done once again. Though only a difference of 42 total yards between the two teams. UT Martin ends with 445, 403 for Western Illinois. And Western Illinois got 327 of that through the air. So, I mean, they're right there. They just need to get that run game established because you only have 76 yards on the rush when you're still putting up 30 points. That's certainly something of topic of discussion for the coaches moving forward.
So I'd love to add on that. Like, I went through on this game, on all of Western Illinois scoring drives, they had the ball for 2 minutes, 52 seconds. They're not a team that's going to put together those long drives that wear down the opposing team's defense, where UT Martin, their drives were almost a full minute longer. And they scored pretty fast in this one, too. It wasn't like they had those incredible drives that they put together this year. Their defense has no time to rest. They're already a unit that's been struggling a lot this season. You got to give the big guys a chance to get a breather on the sideline and give the coaches a chance to make adjustments. Because if it's a 3 and out and they're right back out there, it's hard to change things.
Well, that takes us into our second highlighted game from last weekend. Gardner-Webb picked up a huge OVC Big South win, their second of the year on the road against Eastern Illinois. It was a big one for this dominant running Bulldog offense. It started with a Quasson Holmes, 14 yards to the house, getting it through. He would end up with just the one rushing touchdown. That was actually only be his receiving touchdown and receiving yards of the game for the running back. Later on, Carson Greasock, what do you know? Finding holes, finding gaps, and then it is no one in front of him. Whole bunch of green grass, 64 yards to the residence. 5-yard drive, he would cap off. He would end up with 137 rushing yards for the running back, but he wouldn't be done yet. Another big play coming up for him. This time, 55 yards to the outside, one in front, outrunning him, cutting through to the sideline. Does he have the legs? Yes, he does. Big one. That would be the last touchdown, though, of the day. 21 points for Gardner-Webb. They would only get those 3 touchdowns in the first half. Later on, it's Cole LaCrue, the lone touchdown in the third quarter. And the lone touchdown of the game for the Panthers, battling through, a little push at the end, little hey-ho, and the lone touchdown. And that would be the last of the scoring of the game in the third quarter. It would go over 24 minutes scoreless between the two teams, which is certainly unusual for this Gardner-Webb offense, which has certainly just grown and expanded more these past few games here in the OVC.
Yeah, this was a really interesting football game because coming into the game and still looking at the conference stats, Gardner-Webb is not good against the run. They have really struggled against that this year. They're the second worst team in the conference, but you wouldn't have guessed it in this one. And Eastern Illinois has been a really good team at running the football. Didn't see it here because the O-line could not stop Gardner-Webb. Coming into this game, they had 9 sacks on the season as a whole. They had 8 in this one. 8 sacks. It's hard to win a football game when your quarterback's on his butt 8 times. And Gardner-Webb just kept it coming the entire game. Great blitz packages. Linebacker play was outstanding. They knew their assignments. They executed well. And that's a big reason why they won this football game.
Absolutely. The defense for Eastern was actually pretty decent. They applied some good pressure and a lot of key points, stopping some important runs. However, like you said, the O-line just kind of fell apart. Both quarterbacks receiving injuries in this game, Cole LeQuire and as well as Connor Wolf. That's not a spot you want to be in, especially when both injuries happen in the first half of the game. Cole LeCrue, I apologize, I said that name wrong earlier. Cole LeCrue was hurt in the first quarter, which forced Connor Wolf to step in. However, Connor Wolf the next quarter was taken out of the game permanently, forcing Cole LeCrue to step back in when he wasn't at 100%. And you pair that off with an O-line that doesn't really guard you, kind of a recipe for disaster.
And certainly unusual. You talked about the Gardner-Webb offense. It still tallied 446 total yards of offense, yet only could put away the 21 points in that first half. But they pick up OVC Big South win number 2. They are 2-0 so far here in the conference. And talking about last Saturday, we'll take a look now at those scores from last Saturday's matchup. You see the two up top there. SEMO, they got a big win. We'll talk about that here in a second as they took down Tennessee State 28-12. And Tennessee Tech still undefeated, but their lowest score line of the season, first time under 30 points for them as they take down Charleston Southern 27-13, improving to 3-0 in conference. Charleston Southern 0-3, and we will also talk about that in just a moment. We'll talk about a lot of stuff here in just a moment, but what we're going to talk about now is our players of the week, and we're going to start with Jase Bauer, his second OVC Offensive Player of the Week, and got it deservedly so. 235 yards in passing, a passing touchdown, and those two clutch, super clutch rushing touchdowns, the biggest one coming to give them that 32-31 lead. And he really put on a show this past weekend against Western Illinois in a game that certainly mattered for the Skyhawks.
Yeah, this has been a guy that, he's been really efficient this year. Coming into the season, he wasn't a guy that was very accurate. This year, he's been more reliant on checkdowns and on yak. This game, he was able to air it out a little bit. We mentioned those big throws late in the game, the 34-29 yarders when they just had to have it. And credit to the wide receivers on that one. Those were some 50-50 balls. They came down with it, but they go on his stats for the week. He led his team. He's been able to get it done with the legs. And I know going back to that Lindenwood game, I know they didn't win, but the passing game was not there for them. And they said, all right, you were able to run the week before. Let's see it again. And he got it done this week with those big rushing touchdowns late.
Absolutely. Jase Bauer, like we said, second time winning OVC Player of the Week. Well-deserved, in my opinion, for this game alone. Absolutely clutch, probably MVP of the game, I would say. Instrumental in UT Martin winning. Had some incredible throws and some great short rushes. The thing about him is you got to realize he may be slow to start on games. However, when he gets going, he is a dangerous player on the field and one that each team's got to watch out for.
And I will say this on him. This season, he's been a check down guy, like I said, but he's not turning the football over. He's only had one pick against an FCS opponent this year. His completion percentage is 6th in the country right now. That's pretty impressive for a guy that has struggled his entire career. He's reinvented himself, reinvented his game, and the offensive coordinator for UT Martin has found a really good way to use their quarterback moving forward.
This is Jase Bauer's third stop in his collegiate career, coming over from Sam Houston and Central Michigan, where he spent time with the Chippewas as well. So we will now transition to our defensive player of the week, and that one went to Cahari Haynes of Gardner-Webb, as he picked up 8 total tackles, 5 of them solo, including 1.5 sacks and 2.5 tackles for loss as well. That was a career high for him in terms of sacks in a game, season high and career high. Haven't seen a lot of the field before, but this season he's been getting a lot of touches, a lot of snaps, and he has truly become one of the big parts of this running Bulldogs defense.
And I like that you mentioned he hasn't seen the field a lot. That's kind of been the story of his career. He came over from App State, didn't do a whole lot at the FBS level, wasn't starting, wasn't a big impact player. Then he ends up coming to Gardner-Webb, and he's been okay. This game, he really showed what he can do. He has great speed. For his size, he's one of the fastest guys, one of the fastest linebackers in the OVC, and he's able to shed blocks, he's smart, and he uses his length to make plays. It's not just the sacks. I understand this week, big tackles for losses, big sacks, big just those big plays behind the line of scrimmage. But even when runners are getting outside, getting to the second level, he's able to make those shoestring tackles because of his length and his speed to close the distance.
This guy is big and fast, which is dangerous for anybody on O-line. Just to reiterate your stats, 8 sacks for the total game. He was responsible for 5 solo tackles. That should really tell you, what he's up against. Well-deserved honor, in my opinion.
As we take a look, once again, another Skyhawk here getting honors. It's Hechter being named the Special Teams Player of the Week. And certainly, one, you'd say maybe he just did his job, but what he's been doing all season, that is certainly what has highlighted him so far and really showed off again last week. 2 for 2 from field goal range, infield for field goals, 28 yards, 41 yards for the Bethune-Cookman transfer over from Sydney, Australia, and added 9th nationally in the FCS in terms of field goal percentage, 87.5% there. He has been incredible for the Skyhawks and finally getting some recognition for it.
Yeah, tell me if you've seen this one before. It's an Aussie who plays soccer, comes to the United States, and ends up being a good kicker. Good kicking is hard to find at this level. You look across the OVC Big South, there's not a lot of reliable guys that you can trust with the game on the line, and he has been sure the entire year. Okay, if it's anywhere from 30 to 40, which is probably his max right now, he's probably making it. And he's done it all season long. That is a very important tool for UT Martin to have in their back pocket.
Absolutely. Him along with Jase, Bauer, absolute MVPs of this last game. Just to reiterate, or just to go over some of the stats, so far for this season, he's had 8 total attempts for field goals and has only missed 1 for a total of 158 yards. That's pretty strong in my opinion. Pretty dangerous to see him on the field.
Well, it's just nice to have. I mean, games on the line, you need a guy to win you a football game. You can call on him. He has not been, so he's already played a decent amount of football, was at Bethune-Cookman. He comes over here, he's not like one of those guys who's just getting his start. He's kicked a lot in his career. He's had a lot of experience and no moment has been too big for him so far.
Yeah, certainly you always want that big kicker, and Hechter has been the guy for the Skyhawks. Taking a look now at some game previews coming up here. We'll start with SEMO and what's going on with them right now in the QB room is they're down to their 3rd stringer in Johnny Weber after Jax Leatherwood and also Patrick Hechter went down against UT Martin. Weber stepped up big in that first start of his, getting co-OVC Freshman of the Week honors last week when their win against Tennessee State, but he stepped up big after both Leatherwood and Hechter went down against the Skyhawks, and they've kind of been there to force their hand. Unfortunately for SEMO, Jack Leatherwood has been their guy. And now not only are they down Leatherwood, but now they're down their backup in Patrick Hechter. But this good side for them, Weber has been performing well in that first game. We've seen him a little bit throughout the season, not too much yet. Finally stepping into that first start, performed incredible against Tennessee State. And the biggest thing now, just got to see him continue to improve, and if he can continue that success moving forward for the Red Hawks.
Well, I'll say this, Jax Leatherwood, he was so good for them to start the year. I understand the record didn't show it. They played some tough non-con teams.
Number 1 team in the nation, North Dakota State as well.
You're not going to win those football games. And for a team at this level, it's going to take a monumental effort, and he was still putting up decent stats. He's missed a game now, and he's still 4th in passing TDs in the conference. And then you look at Patrick Hechter. My heart breaks for that man because he's been on this team for 3 years. He's been the backup, and he's been waiting for an opportunity. He thought he was going to have it, and in the first game he goes in, he ends up getting hurt. So then you got to look at a true freshman. That's a scary thought for any coach at this level. A true freshman getting a start, that's a little nerve-wracking for the entire team. He stepped up big time in the last game.
Absolutely. This is not a spot that SEMO wants to be in right now. With Hechter out for the rest of the season and Leatherwood out for at least 3 to 5 more weeks at this point. However, to reiterate that point, yeah, Weber stepped up big time, having his first game, having a 61.5% passing against Tennessee State. Not that bad for a freshman. It'll be really interesting to see what he does in these upcoming games and to see if he can really hold that torch
It'll be interesting to see how they match up against Eastern Illinois coming into this Saturday's matchup. And this will be in Cape Girardeau, the matchup between Eastern Illinois and SEMO. And of course, obviously, the biggest question is going to be how do the quarterbacks match up. Eastern Illinois, they have their own kind of questions at quarterbacks right now of who's going to be that starter. Haven't really figured it out yet. So it'll be interesting to see as both these teams are just trying to swing back right now into really just that, I guess the best way to put it is the win column. But Eastern Illinois has handled some struggles as of recently, just trying to get their feet back underneath them. They had a good start, a good game against Western Illinois, but then a little bit of a slow turnaround against UT Martin. So now it's a game against SEMO, who, same spot. They turn it around. Now they're trying to keep the momentum going. It's going to be an interesting matchup here.
Yeah, for SEMO, my biggest key for them in this football game is run the ball consistently and effectively. Over the last 3 years, they have not been a run-first team because they've had really good quarterback play, but when the going gets tough and they have to run the football, especially thinking back to last year, their big upset where they lost to Lindenwood, it rained. The conditions were not good, and they had to run the football, and they couldn't get it done. That has been a problem for them, and now you have a true freshman under center who is going to need some help. Take some pressure off of them. If you can get the other team to stack the box against you and get him some one-on-one matchups, which is going to be a lot easier for him to make his reads and his progressions, that'll be key for SEMO in this one.
So Eastern needs to find a way to generate turnovers and move the football to Cole LaCrue under center, because I'll be the first to admit, he's got some legs on him. When he gets to running, he could turn those boosters on. They've only had one interception this season on defense. They need to make it more difficult for the turnover pro freshman.
Well, we'll now take a look at what was making national headlines here for a little bit. The Western Illinois' Deari Davis. We saw that highlight earlier on, and what an incredible catch that he had. A spectacular grab against UT Martin. Couldn't get the win, but what a grab it was. Sportscenter placing it at number 2 in the top 10 on Monday. And just, I think we just take a second and just admire this for
Ooh.
Oh, man.
Ah.
What a snap. I mean, just incredible. One hand laying it out. I mean, he had an incredible game and has so far against the conference as well. 9 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 208 yards against the OVC Big South. And again, just one more time, just take it in.
Yeah.
A shame that it has lower third covers it up a little bit, but man, now we'll take it. Just one
more time. Yeah,
one
more time.
Oh man,
yeah. That's...
Just love it. Just love it. Western Illinois, they are on a climb back, and this is just something I think really boosts them in a lot of different ways. Is one, you get a guy who's on national television right now, showing off what he can do. Western Illinois, they're on a climb. Are they still looking for a big break? 100%. They just haven't found it just yet. So that's going to be the true question of how do they step up in this next game.
Yeah, Deari Davis, he was an All-American coming out of Pinole Valley High School, a California native. And he was kind of an afterthought last season. Not a guy that they went to very often. So far this year, you mentioned the stats, but he leads the OVC Big South in yards per game, 83.6. That's WR1 numbers. That's what you want out of your top guys. He's been able to do that the entire season. And against conference teams in particular, he's averaging over 100 yards per game receiving. Like, the guy's getting open. He's doing it in so many different ways. You saw the hands. He has all the skills. The question is, can the team around him figure out a way to win football games?
Absolutely. We got to remember with catches like this, where that arm is outstretched, we're risking major injury here. If you come down wrong, that's an arm injury, that's a shoulder injury. So the fact that he's dedicated enough to this team and this sport to risk that for that moment says a lot about him.
He's been just incredible. They'll be taking on Charleston Southern this Saturday. And it's going to be a big one, obviously, for both sides. But right now, it's going to be a big one for Charleston Southern, trying to snap I believe, 14-game conference losing streak right now. 1-6 so far here this season, and they have just been unable to get it done in conference play. And it's just been a rocky road for Charleston Southern, and it's a good opponent to try and turn it around. They're on the climb. You saw what they did against Tennessee Tech last weekend. Now it's just going to be a question of can they continue climbing, because Western Illinois, they're right up there with them. I mean, we've seen what Carswell's doing right now as a freshman quarterback. He's been incredible after jumping in middle of the season. And now Charleston Southern, they're trying to be on that same trend. So it's really, this is going to be a game where you kind of hope it's a shootout, because that means both teams are progressing.
And I don't know if it will be a shootout, because Charleston Southern this year, their defense looked bad to start. They've gotten better week by week by week. And at this point, they have the second best passing defense in the conference. And you're going against a team that likes to throw the football, that has really struggled to run the football so far this year. But for Charleston Southern on offense, man, they've been in the red zone 12 times this year, only coming away with touchdowns half the time. And then on the kicking side of things, they've been 3 for 6 on field goal attempts inside the red zone. These are short chip shots. They need to be making these, and you're losing points every game. This is a team that does not know how to win. They haven't won a conference game in so long. You gotta do the little things right.
Absolutely. Western, they need to run the ball this game. They've got to give their defense time to breathe, because what they're doing is the defense is running out of gas really early because they're having to do all the playing for them. Charleston Southern has about 4.8 yards per carry and over 200 rush yards per game. They need to keep them guessing. They're still selling out to stop the run or push.
Well, the biggest one of the bigger games here this weekend coming up will be the UT Martin Gardner-Webb matchup. 2 OVC Player of the Weeks will be matching up. The best offensive player, obviously, in Jase Bauer against the best defensive player in Cahari Haynes. So that's going to be one heck of a matchup to see how UT Martin, who's been touted as one of the better offenses here this season in the OVC with the amount of awards they've won and some of their players. But Gardner-Webb, they've stepped up huge defensively. Obviously, they had a rough game against Georgia Tech early on the season, but then again, that's Georgia Tech. So what can you do about it? But they're stepping up a lot. And Gardner-Webb is really on the right path right now. So this is going to be a really tight game between 2 offenses and 2 defenses that are just going to clash.
Yeah, you saw it the last time UT Martin lost. They lost because Lindenwood was able to take away their ability to throw the football, and they had to get it done on the ground. I would like them to do that to Gardner-Webb in this game, which is going to be tough because Gardner-Webb has been so good at running, so good at passing. Their entire offense is efficiency embodied, except for on third downs. They are the worst third down team in the conference, only getting it done 28% of the time. When the downs get big and you got to have big plays, Gardner-Webb's kind of struggled a bit this year to do it. So if you can just keep them on the ground and kind of take away their passing attack, and also, I mean, Carson Griesach, I mean, he's been pretty darn good. 9 yards per carry.
Incredible.
Like, you got to pick one or the other. Take away the pass, take away the run, and just accept what happens from there, because you can't stop both on Gardner-Webb.
Last game, UT Martin had 11 penalties for 101 yards. They can't afford to be playing like that against the number 2 ranked team in the conference, Gardner-Webb, or they're going to get eaten alive. Gardner-Webb, they need to get ahead of the sticks, establish the run, and they need to open the passing game for Nate Hampton. That not only going to Nate Hampton has 10 touchdowns to 1 interception, but that's going to soften UTM's weak secondary even more than it already is.
Well, Tennessee State, on the other hand, they will wrap up their non-conference against Howard University at Nissan Stadium for their final non-con of the year. Tennessee State also trying to turn it around right now. They've had a rough go here in conference play. They are still searching for that one big game of theirs. And this is going to be a good one, I think, for them against Howard, another team, another HCBU. So a good matchup for them. I mean, Tennessee State, they got a really good passing game, but other than that, they've really been struggling. So I think this is a good game, a good non-con game to really settle in. You're at home. You got to figure some stuff out because right now they're really not sitting pretty with how they've been playing, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, no, 12.5 points per game is not going to cut it. And I know they all know that, but it's because they keep turning over the football. Like, you need to have a dynamic offense, which means you need to be able to throw, you need to be able to run. And this season, they've only been able to run the football because when they go through the air, they only have 3 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. They turn the ball over. The quarterbacks they have are not making the right reads. People aren't getting open. This is a good reset game here, where if they can get a little bit of momentum coming back into conference play, it would bode well for them the rest of the season.
Absolutely. They need this win. They're on a 5-game losing streak. You can't afford that in a season, especially when you're this deep into conference play. And I think Howard is probably one of the perfect opponents for them. Not a lot of scoring in their games, especially when they're running against a strong defensive line. So they need to, what Tennessee State needs to do is focus on that defensive line and stop Howard from getting any points on the board.
Yeah, Howard has played Florida A&M, Temple, Morehouse College, Hampton, Richmond, and Sacred Heart so far this season. Have yet to even play a conference game in the MEAC. So we will see how they shape up. And obviously, like you said, Tennessee State, they got to get a lot of things figured out and get on the right path here. But a big thing, big game, our game of the week this week, it's going to be Lindenwood here at home taking on Tennessee Tech. They look to make another big statement win. Tennessee Tech ranked number 8 in the country in the AFCA FCS coaches poll, number 10 in the FCS placement poll, I believe. And it is just another big game here for Lindenwood at home. They upset SEMO last season when SEMO was number 6 in the country in another rainy game on a Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of in the air. We've seen how Tennessee Tech has become mortal this season last weekend against Charleston Southern. And what people point to the most is strength of schedule between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lindenwood this year has played a lot of tough opponents in the non-con, and then some of the other just schools outside of their conference, they've had to play up against some FBS foes. They've played some tough games this year, and they have found ways to at least look passable against those good teams. And then against conference foes so far this year, they were able to come back against Charleston Southern, and then last week when they played, well, I guess not last week, the week before that, they kind of dismantled UT Martin. And I will say I picked Lindenwood to win. I picked UT Martin to win that game. No, that was bad. That was really bad. I was the only one on this panel to take UT Martin in that one. But for Lindenwood in this one, you have to find a way to scheme away from Tennessee Tech's pressure. Their D-line is too good. You have to find a way to get Nate Glantz, who is their quarterback, who is very mobile and is very talented, get him outside the pocket, get him on the run, keep Tennessee Tech guessing the entire game. And now Lindenwood has something that they haven't had the last few years. You have 2 wide receivers that you can rely on Enrico Bond and Jalen Smith. Now you can't double their top guy. You saw it last year. Other teams were doubling Caldwell the entire season. Now you got guys, you got depth across your roster. They can spread out the football and scheme away that pressure. Lindenwood might have a chance here.
This game is definitely going to have all eyes on it. This is going to be an absolute barn burner, as the kids call it.
Do they?
However, this is the first time since 1977 that Tennessee Tech has been 6-0. That's historic. I mean, we're looking at a historic run for Tennessee Tech right now. They're outscoring opponents 87-10 in the first quarter, almost unheard of. However, the game is supposed to call for rain. That is going to make all the difference in this game. Lindenwood relies a lot more on their passing yards. Tennessee Tech, way more into their rushing this season. So it'll be interesting to see how the weather plays out and how that overall affects this game.
Yeah, as someone who's working that game, I am not looking forward to the downpour, but it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a really interesting football game.
It will be. It's also the Stats Forum FCS game of the week as well. Lindenwood 3-3. They're still undefeated in conference play. Tennessee Tech 6-0, 3-0 in OVC Big South, and they lead every single stats category right now. And obviously, like I said, the strength schedule, that's what appears to inflate it. They've played the bottom 3 in the OVC so far this season, plus an AIA school to open up against Cumberland College and Chattanooga and Davidson, who, and frankly, to be honest, not performing the best so far here. So obviously that's a little different between Lindenwood, who faced off against, say Miami of Ohio, who is the runner-up from last season in the MAC, and Appalachian State, who is, every single season, they're just fantastic. So that's going to be the one thing I think most people are going to point out to coming into Saturday, but it's going to be coming into today, so it's going to be really an interesting look against both of the, really honestly, I think the best 2 offenses in the OVC and a really strong Tennessee Tech defense. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that matchup here. Well, let's take a look now at the standings and how things could shake up on Saturday. Tennessee Tech, as you see, they're right up top, 3-0, 6-0 overall. Gardner-Webb, Lindenwood right behind them, the only two teams yet to lose in conference. Tennessee State, Charleston Southern, Western Illinois, they're all looking for that first conference win. SEMO looking to go over 500 in conference play. They're rocking that one-game win streak. UT Martin with the win as well. Despite being at 2-5, they got the 2 wins where it really matters the most, and that is in conference play. Eastern Illinois, they currently sit at 2-1 in the conference, 3-3 overall. So they will look again to go over 500. So that is how it shakes up coming into week 8, which now means it is time for our most favorite segment here, Who You Got? As we look to see who wins each game this week here, pitted between OVC Big South teams, and we will start it off with SEMO taking on Eastern Illinois. James, start with you. Who you got?
Well, okay, this game is so interesting because I could go either way depending on who starts this one for Eastern Illinois. The offense for Eastern Illinois this season for the Panthers under Connor Wolf looked really solid. I understand the O-line hasn't been there, but he would stay in the pocket, he would take a hit to get the throw downfield, and then Cole Crew, he has not been able to throw the football. But SEMO's defense has been a big question mark. They've allowed a lot of points, and the last time they played against an OVC opponent, they gave up 34 points to UT Martin, who has not exactly had the greatest offense as well this year. So I'm actually going to go with Eastern Illinois on this one. I'm hoping Connor Wolf plays, but even if Cole Crew gets in there, I think he might still have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, this does really depend on all who starts. I think probably the most important thing is that if they can put pressure on this freshman for SEMO, they may have a chance. However, Cole Crew has already been proven to be less than stellar when passing the ball. So because of that, I'm probably gonna have to go SEMO on this one.
Yeah, it's been always a toss-up, but I think just how Johnny Weber's playing, it's been looking good for SEMO. Eastern Illinois, obviously they're on the trend, but they just haven't seemed to got anything going offensively. And SEMO, 7.5-point favorites here. I'm gonna have to rock with the favorites here down in Cape Girardeau. I'm gonna win SEMO for this matchup here, and that will take us into game number 2. With Western Illinois taking on Charleston Southern, game of the 1-6s. James, we'll start off with you. Who you got?
I mean, it sounds disrespectful, but we need to name this one the Toilet Bowl, guys.
Yes.
Both of these teams need this win in a bad way. Coming into this one, Charleston Southern has that huge, conference losing streak. Most of the guys on the roster have not won a conference game in their career. That's pretty damning. They really have struggled on both sides of the ball when it matters most. And yet I'm picking them this week to win the football game because the defense for Western Illinois has been just nowhere close to competitive this season. I mean, not even close to where they want to be at all. And as we mentioned earlier, they don't have a run game. Charleston Southern's secondary is actually pretty solid. Despite some of the score lines you've seen this year, it has not been to the fault of the secondary. I think with all those things combined and they're hungry to get a win, I'm taking Charleston Southern here.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you on this one. I think that if last game is anything to tell by, we're starting to see an uptake in the defense for Western. I mean, Deari Davis just having a catch of the week on Sportscenter top 10 alone. We're also showing an uptake in that offense. I've got a gut feeling about this one, guys. I am going to have to go Western.
Can I ask you something? You said there was an uptick in their defense. UT Martin put up a lot of points in a hurry to end that game. I don't know. I mean, there's some pieces there. They definitely have some guys in that defense, but I just can't have faith in you. But hey, we're disagreeing on it. That's part of the segment, and that's what makes it fun.
Well, James, I'm going to have to disagree with you as well. I love the offensive revival here coming from Casey Carswell and leading this Western Illinois offense. They haven't been able to get it done, but game by game, they've just gotten closer and closer. There's really no favorite in this game. It's 1.5-point difference. So there's really no favorite. And I think, personally, I just love this offense that's slowly revitalizing itself. And it's all led by Casey Carswell, who's, I think, is just growing and growing as a quarterback. He's looking excellent so far. So I'm going to take the Leathernecks here in this one. Next up, It is UT Martin Gardner-Webb Skyhawks running Bulldogs in Boiling Springs. UT Martin trying to spin things around. Gardner-Webb, they're looking pretty decent right now. James, who you got?
Well, I've been the different guy on every single pick we've ever done. Going back to the first show, I was the only one with a different pick. Today I have 2 different picks, but I feel like we're all gonna probably go with the same team here because Gardner-Webb is so efficient on both sides of the ball, and their pass rush came alive last week. They haven't had that all year. The fact that that's not one thing UT Martin has to worry about, that should put them over the edge here, so give me Gardner-Webb.
Exactly. I am going to have to agree with you on this one. Cahari Haynes alone, winning Defensive Player of the Week, shows that real uptake in the defense for Gardner-Webb, and especially with how sloppy UT Martin's been playing lately, fast and loose with the rules. They can't afford that, and it's kind of too late in the season to change up your way of playing right now, so I'm going to have to take Gardner-Webb on this one.
Well, folks, it's going to be a clean sweep here. Got to take Gardner-Webb easily. They're second in the OVC with 17 sacks defensively. They're incredible, and their rushing offense is right there as well. Second rushing offense total in the OVC. So running Bulldogs, I think, just don't know if it's going to be a complete dismantling, but I think it's going to be a good game.
I'll ask you guys this as well. Since we're all going with Gardner-Webb, one of the spreads I saw was -7.5. This game could be really close or it could be a blowout. We don't know how UT Martin's going to play. They've been so inconsistent this year. I think I would take the 7.5. How do you guys feel
easily.
there?
I'm taking that 100%.
I would also go with that.
All right.
100%. And that transitioned us to our game of the week in St. Charles, Missouri, the number 8 in the country, Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles taking on Lindenwood in St. Chuck. The Stats Perform FCS game of the week. It's a big game all around. Tennessee Tech trying to stay undefeated. Lindenwood looking for yet another big upset at home. And just to throw out, James, you brought it up to me earlier. This is one of the biggest spreads we have of not just the week, but in conference play this year. Tennessee Tech is favored by 21.5 points in this game.
Which is
so we will, and the money line is at a +870 for Lindenwood. So quite the underdog status for the Lions here today. So kick it off with you, James. What you got?
That's very ironic for this to be game of the week. See, the people in charge of the FCS recognize this game is much closer than that. We recognize that. The conference recognizes it. Vegas apparently doesn't.
That's because Vegas is so far away.
We don't care what Vegas thinks on this one. Look, Lindenwood is a passing team, and they're going to be in a rainstorm. You mentioned it earlier, Gabe. Tennessee Tech can win in any way they want. Last week, they did not play good. Offensively, through the air, interceptions galore, inefficiency, and yet they won handedly. This team is just too talented on both sides of the ball. I got to take Tennessee Tech here, as much as I hate to say it.
Now, don't get me wrong. When I say this, I went back and forth on this pick for a long time. This is going to be It's shaping up to be a great game, I should say, and dare I say it's going to be very close. However, if the rain does what it says it's going to, if the weather upholds like it's saying, I'm probably going to have to go with Tennessee Tech as well. They put up 27 points and 256 rushing yards in the rain last week, and they have 4 quality running backs that they can rotate in and out of their roster. So they kind of set up for this. I am going to have to go with Tennessee Tech.
And Tennessee Tech is they're just incredible, to say the least. Leading the OVC in everything, offensive, defensive. They can run the hell out of the ball. They can throw the ball so well. They defend everything going their way. And you put them in a rainstorm, doesn't matter. They're going to be so fantastic. Their quarterback is one of the best in the country. Running back duo is insane. But Lindenwood's got Nate Glantz. Nate Glantz is fantastic on his feet. They got Steve Hall in the backfield, who's now nearly at 100%, and if he's not, he's at about 98. They are in the rain at home against a top 10 team. We've seen this before. Last season, taking down SEMO. Oh, it's going to be close. It's going to be tight. Tennessee Tech is just so good. I just don't know if they've had the experience yet. So why don't you give me...
Oh, God. Oh, no. There it comes.
The Lindenwood Lions to upset Tennessee Tech at home in a huge statement game for Lindenwood. We don't know if it'll happen. We will see. Get ready for another fantastic weekend of football here. James Zugmeyer, Gabe Levi, thank you for joining us. This has been OVC Big South Game Day. Enjoy your college football Saturday.